My name is Amanda Barker. I am the director and farm manager of Nuestro Huerto, which is an urban farm. It's Spanish for our garden or our backyard garden. So that's where we are here in Worcester, Massachusetts. And we grow on about 1/3 of an acre on church property. I came to Worcester 7 years ago, around this time, to start graduate school at Clark University. I wanted to grow food. I was ready as soon as I got here to do that. So my hope was at the time to figure out a way to do that, to try to connect people with food, get people talking to each other. This church property, these guys were the only ones who really humored my request to use the land, and we were able to start growing here with the help of a lot of soil brought in. These were actually storage grounds for the Foundry, which was a huge complex actually. Most of the buildings are gone now. They mostly stored black Foundry sand here, which was the sand they used to cast iron into it. The land was tested and there were no contaminants. It's not really like tillable land. It's got a lot of rocks in it. So we've just been putting compost on top from the city and growing in that. So the city of Worcester makes compost with leaf and yard waste for residential customers in the city for free. And then as part of our community garden and urban farm network in the city that we're a part of, the city will deliver the compost. But if we didn't have it, we wouldn't have a farm. So, you know, we started very, very small. It was really a small garden the first year. And, you know, each year just a little bit of expansion and asking if we could use more, and how about this spot, and how about that. And they've been really good about letting us use a lot of their land. It's almost entirely annual mixed vegetables. My favorite part is the perennial herbs, actually. So we have a nice herb garden. No corn, no potatoes, things that take up a lot of space. So we do grow a lot of greens. I think that would be our main thing, greens and herbs. And then tomatoes, of course, like so many tomatoes. There are a lot of challenges. I think it's just farming in general, mostly, that is what's challenging about it. It's unpredictable, the weather, pests, groundhogs. We had security is a challenge, I think, in the city. We haven't had a lot of issues over the years, which is nice, but it's always kind of a concern. Our fence is broken from a car wrecking into it. So we're a volunteer-run farm, so labor is always a challenge. It's been a major learning curve. I was at the Urban Agriculture Conference this past winter. I went to an irrigation workshop, actually, and then I think I overheard somebody saying, oh, the NRCS like helps people figure out their irrigation systems and improve them.
Hi, I'm Dan Lenthal. I work for the Natural Resources Conservation Service. I work in the office in Westford and Holden, which covers Middlesex, Essex, Suffolk, and Worcester County. Well, Amanda first reached me through email. She had questions about irrigation. She says, can someone look at this with me, figure out why the flow rate is low? It's taking a long time to do the work.
Got connected with Dan, who came out here to check it out, and we had conversations about the soil as well, which is always something I'm interested in improving. And
it appears that it was where the pressure reducer was, because the water has to travel 300 to 400 feet before it even gets to some of the fields. So that pressure loss, in addition to the pressure reducer, really limited the amount of water that was getting to the individual drip lines. So that was really the first place to look. And while we're here, we talk about soils and we talk about some of the other crops.
Mostly the goal is to make sure that everything gets the water that it needs. So what I was doing is I was keeping the irrigation on for longer. So yeah, it would help conserve some water. It's a very low consumptive system since it is the drip irrigation. But if you have, a couple lines here and there that are just not getting water, it's ultimately crop failure and just a waste of everybody's time. I think another unique aspect to urban agriculture is the scale of things, trying to bring in enough income to sustain the amount of labor that it takes to do these things. It's all done by hand. We're not tilling, we're forming beds, we're weeding, everything is by hand. There's a certain, threshold of like how much money we need to actually operate the thing, even though it's volunteer run, you still need money to operate. So
this is not a typical farm as in general in our area, but is more and more typical of some of the small urban farms. Most farms in our neck of the woods urban are less than an acre. They have different concerns. They're very detailed oriented. There's a few feet of this type of crop followed by a few feet of another type of crop. They can actually custom grow for some of their customers. Some may say, do you grow any of this? On a small scale with a lot of diversity, they can say, okay, I don't grow it now, but if you're interested, I'll try some next year.
I have decided to do the CSA model rather than farmers markets or restaurant or retail sales, things like that. Primarily for the community, and also it's a lower risk in terms, like financially. It's not as profitable necessarily, but we have a community, we have a labor base, we have people who show up every week, and that's really cool. It makes it worth it, I think.
City Worcester is the second largest city in Massachusetts. Worcester is located about 30 to 40 miles west of Boston, and it's about halfway between the New Hampshire border and the Rhode Island border. It has an industrial base. It used to be the hub of many of the industrial products we had, and it is, as many cities, has declined a bit, but now it seems to be on the upswing.
It's a community, it's a family. I think that long term, I think it's healthier for everybody to have these connections. It creates a more resilient community and society.